about the confrontation that Yaakov had with the angel and how they fought. It's Perek Lamed Beis, Pasuk Chofei. After Yaakov crosses the Yabok River with his family and all his possessions, the Torah tells us, Vayivose Yaakov levado. Yaakov remained all by himself. Vayovek Yishimo, Aralos Shochar. And a man wrestled with him until dawn. And this was a fight to the death. The angel came to kill Yaakov. Now, how could a person, a mortal, stand up against an angel? But they wrestled all night. So the question first, who's this Ish? Who's this man? He came in a human form to wrestle with him, to kill him. So Rashi over here cites the Chazal at the end of the Rashi and Chofei, Upirshar B'Seinu, Zichron Levrocha, Shusor Shel Esav. This was the archangel of Esav. As we said, every representation, every physical existence has a representation in the spiritual. We speak about the 70 root nations, the 70 archangels, each one representing that physical nation. Identically, Edom, Esav, has an archangel. The archangel, who's the antithesis and who's the counterbalance to Yaakov, what he represents, he came to destroy Yaakov. So Tzara Shel Esav, the archangel of Esav. So they wrestled till morning. Vayarki lo yocholo. And the angel saw he wasn't able to win over Yaakov, although he was immortal. Vayiga b'kaf yurecho. He touched his hip. Vatekaf kaf yerech Yaakov. He dislocated his hip. Ve'avku imo, when he wrestled with him. So over here, if you look in the Ramban, when it says Vayarki lo yocholo, when the angel saw he couldn't for, although he was in his physical sense, he was a mere mortal, but the angel fought with an angel. And when he saw that he wasn't able to get the upper hand, he injured him. But initially, why was he able to injure him? If Yaakov was at that special level, why was he able to injure him? So the Ramban says, Al kei lo yocholo hamalach laziko, klo hursha rak b'masha osi imo, he only injured him to the degree that Hashem allowed him to. He touched, he affected all the tzaddikim who were meant to descend from Yaakov. Injuring Yaakov is the equivalent injuring all the tzaddikim until the end of time. What does this mean? Zedor shel shmad is the generation where they tried to uproot Torah. Ve'in ke'amura kula remez l'dorosov she'ador shel zaro shel Yaakov yizgaber esav aleim at she'yakorov l'kakeh beitzosom. Meaning, this is forecasting the future that Esav, Edom, will have the upper hand. We know Edom destroyed the second Beis Hamikdash, the Romans, that they will have the upper hand to the point they're going to the point of nearly uprooting Judaism and destroying the Jews. He says, as one of the generations at the time of the Chachmei HaMishnah of Rabbi Yehuda Mebova was one of the 10 martyrs who was killed by the Romans, who were called Asur Rugi Malchus. Moshe Omro, listen to this. Omer Reb Chia bar Abba. Reb Chia bar Abba was an Amora. Im Yomali Odom Tein Nafshcha Kedusha Shmo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If anybody would ask me to give my life to sanctify Hashem's name, ani nosei, I'm able to do it without a question. Ubavachli araguni miyad, but only on the condition that they take my life immediately. But they should not torture me. Why? Avol bedor shel shmad. But if they would kill me the way they killed the Jews during the generation where they wanted to uproot Judaism, Amayu Osim, Bedor Shel Shmat is the generation of the Romans, where Rabbi Akiva, Hayumevian kaduri shel barzel. They would take iron balls made of iron, umalabnin osam bor, and they would heat them in the fire till they turned red hot. V'nos tachas shicheyen umasiyen no shosei mihen, and they would put them under their arms, under their armpits, these red hot balls of iron, and that's the way they would extract their souls from them. That was the level of torture. So Rabbi Chia bar Abba says he doesn't think he would be able to tolerate that level of torture. So he's ready to give his life, but that's only if they kill him immediately. But to endure that kind of torture, he doesn't think he'd be able to tolerate that. He says, "V'yesh doras acherim," and there were other generations, shosu imaru kozeh, not only that generation who did similar things to the Jews, v'yoserame, even worse than that. V'akol savalnu v'ovad aleinu. But we were able to survive it and pass by it. Moshe Ramaz ve'evu Yaakov sholim. Where do we know that? Because it says after this encounter with the Malach and being injured, it says Yaakov returned sholim. He was fully recovered, fully healed. So at the end of time, despite what we endured throughout the generations, ultimately we're going to be fully intact. Because Yaakov, being the Av, the patriarch of Klal Yisrael, we say Ma'aseh Ovasim Labonim, that their actions, what they experience, that forecast the future of our experiences, despite that we're injured, we're tortured, we're hurt, at the end of the day, we come out on top, fully recovered, fully functional. That's the Ramban. This is the Ramban. So now it's interesting. Over here, the Balaturim writes, Ve'ovik ish imo. If you have a Balaturim, if you have the Vikros Gedol's Chumash, the word Vayeovik ish imo, a man wrestled with him, Sof Tevis Kasho. If you take the last letter of each one of these three words, it spells Kasho from the word Kash. Kash is straw. Al Shem Beis Esav Lakash. The pasuk says in Ovadia, Beis Yaakov is Eish, and Beis Esav is Kash. The one who came to wrestle with him is a representation of Kash, straw. And Yaakov is Eish, is fire. When you put fire to straw, the fire consumes the straw. Okay? Now, if you turn back to if you have the Chavhei, Parshas Toldos, the Torah tells us that Rivka was an Akora, she was barren. Ve'oselo Hashem vatar Rivka ishto. Here, take a look, Chaf Aleph. And Rivka, his wife, became pregnant. He prayed for her, and she became pregnant. If you read the pasuk, it would have been enough to say Vatar Rivka. Right? It says he prayed on behalf of Ishto because she was Akora. V'oselo Hashem Vatar. It should say either Vatar Ishto or it should say Vatar Rivka. What is it besides Rivka? It said we know Rivka's Ishto is his wife. What's the Ishto? So over here, if you look in the Balaturim, Vatar Rivka Ishto, the word Ishto, B'gematria Kashva Ish. The numerical value of Ishto is Kash, straw, the Ish and fire. Dichsiv, and he cites the pasuk of Vadio, V'hoya Beis Yaakov Ish, or Beis Esav Lakash. The house of Yaakov will be fire, and the house of Esav will be Kash, will be straw. So the reason why the Torah, it would have been enough to say Vatar Rivka. What's the Ishto? I mean, what's contained within Ishto? Who is Ishto? Ishto is a representation of Esav and Yaakov. That because the numerical value of Ishto is Kash and Ish. So over here, when it says Vayovik Ish Imo, the last letters of those three words spells Kash, Kasho, to represent that this is Esav's spiritual representation. This is the archangel of Esav. Okay? There's the famous Gemara, which Rashi cites over here. It says, Yaakov was left all by himself. What? He was with his family, all of a sudden he's left by himself. So Rashi says, Shochach pachim ketanim, famous Gemara. Yaakov had forgotten some earthenware vessels, small earthenware vessels, v'choza aleim, and he went back to retrieve them. And when he was all by himself, that's when he was attacked by the archangel of Esav. I mean, a man who's as wealthy as Yaakov, just from the gift that he had sent Esav, herds and flocks, and according to the Midrash, he even sent precious stones, gems to him. I mean, going back and wasting your time with pachim ketanim. You forgot some earthenware vessels, small. It's not pachim ketanim, small earthenware vessels. Do you go back for that? So why did Yaakov go back for earthenware vessels? Person has such a degree of wealth. So on that, Chazal tell us, what do we learn from this? That tzaddikim chavivin mamonu yosem migufan. That a tzaddik, he values his money, his possession, as much as his existence. So what does that mean? So over there, the Gemara explains that a tzaddik understands that whatever he has, it's only because it's an endowment of Hashem. And that he can't be wasteful. So if God gave him even nearly worthless earthenware vessels, you can't just squander it. It has value. Why? Because a tzaddik understands, a tzaddik will not justify certain types of behavior which no ordinary person will. For instance, if a person finds himself that he has to steal to survive, you're permitted. But what about if you could have preempted it. If you would have had the earthenware vessels, and that would have prevented you from resorting to stealing, then the tzaddik wouldn't steal. You have no right to steal. Because you never know the value of something when that minimal value has value. That's the way a tzaddik sees life. It's not, you're being chinchy. You being cheap. It has nothing to do with this. If Hashem gave me earthenware vessels, it has value. When? How? Don't know. But if I was endowed with that, I can't just waste it. Can't be wasteful. That's the tzaddik. That's the understanding. Tzaddikim chavivim mamonim yosem migufan. A tzaddik values his money no less than he values his life. Because you never know when that will make a difference even to save your life. That's why he went back. And when he went back then, for that, that's when he was attacked. It's interesting. I mean, you mean the angel couldn't attack him? There was no other time that he was all by himself? I mean, Yaakov was a shepherd, correct? So the times he was, as he said to his wives, he was out in the field, and he shepherded the sheep in the winter, in the summer, at night. He was actually frozen due to his level of dedication to the flocks of Lavan. But at this moment, this is when he was attacked. Evidently, seemingly the attack was due to going back for the Pachim Ketanim, that he achieved a certain level of spirituality, and because he achieved that level, therefore, that's why he was attacked. For that reason. Now, the Yalkut says, which is the Medrash says, just as it says in the Pasuk, V'niskav Hashem levado. Hashem is exalted on his own level. Nobody's on God's level. Identically, Vayivosi Yaakov levado. Yaakov at this moment, he was on a level all by himself. We're paralleling, we're mirroring. Yaakov is a mirror image of Hashem. Just as Hashem is at a level unto himself, Yaakov at this moment was levado. He was all by himself. Nobody was on his level. So evidently, when was he attacked? When he achieved that level. At that level. Now it's interesting, it says by the Sulam, when the angels were ascending and descending, every angel ascended so many rungs of the ladder, then came down. Bavel ascended 70 rungs, came down. Paras and Modai, the Persians, ascended so many rungs, came down. The Greeks, so many rungs, came down. Edom ascended and did not come down, just kept going and going and going. Yaakov was terrified. That means the Golus Edom, the exile of Edom, is forever, as we see. It's a very long. So Hashem says, if he's not willing to come down, I will take him down. That's what Hashem said to Yaakov during this prophecy. If Esav is not willing to come down, Edom, I will take him down. So to what point does Edom go? He goes all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod. Unless he's cut down, he keeps going. Now, if Yaakov himself is levado, Esav is going straight to the top. He's going for what we call for the jugular vein over here. This is the time of battle. When it says Ovek Yishimo, the word Ovak means dust. So the Medrash, you take a look over here, the commentary cite the Medrash, they kicked up the dust, that the dust was kicked so high that it reached the Kisei HaKavod, up to that level. What's the significance, the symbolism of the dust reaching the Kisei HaKavod? That means he wants to obliterate. Who is Edom? Edom is Amalek. Amalek. Now, what is Amalek? Hashem says, my throne is not complete until Amalek is obliterated from existence. What is dust? If you have a dust storm, you can't see. The Amalek distorts everything. And it is a famous word. Amalek is the gematria Sofik. Amalek is Sofik. It creates that distortion where you really don't have a grasp on truth any longer. They kicked up the dust to the point, this angel, into the Kisei HaKavod. The source of all truth is God. That's clarity. Even that he tried to distort. And this is what the Medrash says. Hashem says, Edom, even if he wants to come all the way up, I will cut him down. And that was the battle over here between Yaakov representing Hashem, we representing Hashem, and the archangel of Edom, which is the antithesis of that. Okay?